Animatronics are timeless. Sadly, not every attraction, show, or in some cases store, lasts forever. And when those experiences disappear, the animatronics go with them. So, let's take a look at 8 rare, retired animatronics that left their mark before vanishing from the public eye.
I always quack bird.
The Camels of Las Vegas. We've talked before about an abandoned animatronic that once lived inside the Excalibur Hotel in Las Vegas. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link here. But back then, we said something that's still true. Las Vegas was once an animatronic paradise. Everywhere you turned, you could find robotic creatures in casinos, hotels, basically everywhere. And 2 of the most unforgettable ones were Elias and Jody. Back in the 1990s, the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas was at the peak of its themed glory. Between the giant pyramid, laser beams, and massive sphinx, guests were greeted by 2 animatronic camels standing right at the entrance. Yes, camels. Talking camels. Their names were Jody and Elias, and they were part of the Luxor's Egyptian show. They were massive, super expressive, and each had their own personality. They'd move their heads, blink, and throw sarcastic one-liners at all the people walking in. What happened to them? Over time, their voice recordings started to degrade. The audio got so bad that by the end, you couldn't even understand what they were saying. Eventually, when the Luxor decided to ditch the family-friendly theme in favor of a more modern adult vibe, guess who were the first to go? That's right, Jody and Elias. Nobody really knows what happened to them. Were they put in storage, sold off at a mysterious auction, sitting in some forgotten theme park waiting to speak again? There are no official records. All that's left are a few tourist videos and the memories of the lucky ones who saw them in action. Some people say they now live deep inside the secret Fastpass Facts headquarters, but I can neither confirm nor deny that. And by the way, do you know what camels eat? Ice Cream Animatronic. A few weeks ago, this TikTok went super viral. It showed an Ice Cream Animatronic singing, and absolutely terrifying half of TikTok. The reactions came fast. Some people were horrified, others said it reminded them of Cupcake from FNAF, and a lot of people just loved it. But the real question is, who is this animatronic? Well, this creepy little cone was originally created by Advanced Animations in the 1980s for a place called Arnie's Place, an arcade that featured an ice cream parlor known as Georgie Porgy's. The parlor had 3 animatronics, the singing ice cream cone, Little Sis, and Georgie Porgy himself. The little ice cream animatronic even had a custom setup that allowed the owner to speak through it to guests in real time. Imagine ordering a sundae and having that thing talk back to you. After being lost for 40 years, the animatronic resurfaced when collector Hound Dog Productions found it listed for sale on Facebook Marketplace and bought it along with Little Sis. Georgie Porgy was also up for sale, but ended up being bought by another collector named Renstack. These 2 are pros at rescuing and restoring animatronics, and thankfully, they brought this ice cream cone back to life. I left their channels in the description, so go subscribe and show them some love. The animatronic was lost for decades, and now it's back to haunt the internet once again. Dragon. West Edmonton Mall. This is hands down one of the most spectacular animatronics we've ever seen, and our Canadian ducks haven't stopped asking for it. So here's a big shout out to Canada. And really, can you blame them? If I told you that right in the middle of a movie theater, there used to be a massive fire-breathing animatronic dragon, you probably wouldn't believe me. But it happened. And luckily, there's footage. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, 2 movie theater chains dominated Canada, Famous Players and Cineplex Odeon. In the middle of their rivalry, Famous Players built what would become the crown jewel of their empire, the Silver City Cinema inside West Edmonton Mall, one of the largest malls in the world. So what did this theater do to stand out? Oh, just a 33-foot-long animatronic dragon hanging right above the snack bar. Every 15 minutes, the show would begin. Epic music, flashing lights, the dragon's head would turn. It would roar, flap its wings, and then boom, breathe real fire. If you were standing on the second floor, you could actually feel the heat. Over time, the fire shows were reduced to every 30 minutes. And after Cineplex bought Famous Players in 2005, it was cut down to once an hour. Still, it became a mall icon. Thousands of people visited just to see that dragon come to life. Here's where it gets tragic. The control system ran on Windows 95, and the original maintenance manuals were lost during the ownership change. Keeping the dragon operational became expensive, and in 2010 it was turned off for good. By 2014, it was removed entirely. Why? Its rubber skin had begun to crack. Grease from the snack bar was building up on it, and pieces were literally starting to fall off. It had become a safety hazard. It's as epic as it is heartbreaking. Today, all that's left is an empty ceiling and a whole lot of memories. And yes, they also removed the giant King Kong statue that used to stand next to the dragon. But last I heard, Yoda and Batman are still there. Can someone in Canada confirm? If you ever got to see the Silver City Dragon in action, let me know in the comments. And if you didn't, now you know that once in Canada, there was a movie theater with a dragon that breathed fire every hour. And that's something we should never forget. Fly high, little dragon, you'll never be forgotten. Just like we'll never forget our next animatronic. And hey, huge thanks to all our channel members for making this video possible. You're the absolute best. If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe. The T-Rex from Toys R Us NYC. This animatronic was an absolute classic, and our New York Ducks know exactly what I'm talking about. This prehistoric creature lived inside the massive Toys R Us store in Times Square, New York City. The store opened in November of 2001 and was absolutely colossal. Over 110,000 square feet. But one of the biggest standouts was the giant animatronic T-Rex. This beast measured 34 feet long and 20 feet tall, and it had super fluid movements, especially in the neck and eyes. It even moved its tiny arms and let out huge roars that echoed throughout the store. The dinosaur was part of a themed Jurassic Park section. The iconic gates from the movie were there too. Now, we couldn't find official confirmation of who built it, but there are two main rumors. One says that it was a direct donation from Steven Spielberg himself. The other theory claims it was built by the company Life Formations, but again, nothing is confirmed. What is true is that this animatronic dinosaur was majestic and an absolute joy to watch every time you visited the store. But like everything in life, nothing lasts forever. And sadly, our dino friend met extinction on December 30th, 2015. Just before New Year's Eve. Why? Because the rent for that space skyrocketed to an insane $2,000 per square foot, making the store's operation completely unsustainable. So, after 14 years, our old friend became extinct. Have you ever heard of this dinosaur, or were you one of the lucky ones who got to see it in person? Let us know. Android 18 Animatronic. Here on this channel, we love Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I can literally go Ultra Instinct. Don't make me angry, but you have been warned. But today, I bring you something that looks like it came straight out of the Red Ribbon Army. An animatronic of Android 18, trapped inside a capsule, that could actually follow you with her eyes. Back in 2014, Japan hosted an exhibition called Dragon Ball Meets Science, which combined the Dragon Ball universe with real-life scientific concepts. One of the standout attractions was a hyper-realistic figure of Android 18, placed inside a capsule just like the ones from the show. But here's where it gets wild. The animatronic was equipped with motion sensors that allowed her to follow visitors with her eyes as they moved around. It was creepy, but also incredibly cool. The Dragon Ball Meets Science exhibition wrapped up in 2015 after touring multiple cities across Japan, and sadly, it hasn't returned since. As for the Android 18 animatronic, its current whereabouts are unknown. There's no public info on what happened to it. Maybe it was stored away by the organizers, or possibly dismantled after the tour. Either way, it is one of the rarest and coolest Dragon Ball displays we've ever seen. Bordon Animatronic. We've seen some rare animatronics on this list. This one might be the rarest, because it comes from a milk brand. We're talking about the animatronic version of Elsie the cow, the iconic mascot of Bordon. Elsie was one of the most famous mascots in the US starting back in the 1930s, and for decades she appeared in ads, fairs, and on Bordon products. In the 1980s and 90s, the company Sally Dark Rides, yes, the same Sally Dark Rides that builds full-on dark rides and animatronic for theme parks, created more than 20 fully functional Elsie animatronics. Each Elsie came with a portable little barn, and even had a hidden space for a live operator to control her in real time. That's right, Elsie could talk to you. She moved her eyes, turned her head, opened her mouth, and spoke in a super friendly voice while teaching people about dairy product. She was like a life-size cow teacher, These animatronic cows toured all across the US, popping up in grocery stores, county fairs, agricultural events, and even schools. And then, just like that, they disappeared. We don't know exactly when they were officially retired. Some say they became too expensive to maintain, or maybe Bordon started shifting their marketing strategy. But recently, one of these animatronics showed up on Facebook Marketplace. Hopefully it finds a good home soon. But speaking of things that vanished, let's move on to the next animatronic. Care Bears, Care-a-Lot Castle. This is hands down one of the rarest shows and animatronic sets on this list, and we've been wanting to cover it for a long time. Back in 1987, Sally Industries created an animatronic show called Care Bears, Care-a-Lot Castle, which was featured in 2 theme parks, Dunia Fantasi in Jakarta, Indonesia, and Dorney Park in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It was one of Sally's first attempts at using licensed characters in one of their animatronic productions. The show starred 6 of the most beloved Care Bears: Tenderheart Bear, Funshine Bear, Cheer Bear, Grumpy Bear, Bedtime Bear, and Friend Bear. Each character had its own animatronic figure with synchronized movements and voices, all set inside a cloud-themed castle representing the magical world of Care-a-Lot. The show included original songs, plus a few musical cues borrowed from other Sally Industries shows, creating a whimsical experience for kids and families alike. In Dunia Fantasi, the show was called Barang Madu and was adapted for the local audience, with voices provided by the Indonesian band Cockpit. The Dorney Park version, on the other hand, was presented in English and retained the original charm of the show. Unfortunately, both shows had a limited lifespan. The Dorney Park version ran from 1988 to 1992, and when the licensing agreement with the Care Bears brand ended, the animatronics were destroyed. In Dunia Fantasi, the show was eventually replaced and the animatronics were also dismantled. Rory the Lion. We've talked about McDonald's animatronics before, and we'll keep doing it. Check out the description for those videos. But this time, we're bringing you one of the rarest ones out there. Meet Rory the Lion, a character that only ever appeared at a single McDonald's location in Plainview, New York. Rory was actually a retrofit of Mac Tonight. Yes, you heard that right. They took one of the original Mac Tonight's animatronics, you know, the moon-headed piano guy from the 80s, and completely transformed him into a lion. They gave him a mane, sunglasses, soft fur, new clothes, the whole shebang. But if you look closely at his movements, you could still tell it was Mac underneath it all. Rory was part of a fully automated animatronic show. He sat at his keyboard, moved his head, arms, torso, and mouth, all perfectly synced with smooth, lounge-style background music. No one really knows why he was made. He wasn't part of McDonald's official character lineup, and he was never featured in national campaigns. It seemed like he was a local experiment, and a very